are already here. Normally sit here and deliberate on matters pertaining to the development of our country. Every time I get an opportunity to look into camera, I remind you, fellow Ugandans, that's everybody's responsibility to keep this country intact, to engage in activities that can propel our country from one stage of development to another, and also to condemn what we feel is wrong. There's something I've been condemning, and people thought that it was affecting a certain class, but now it looks like it cuts across, and that is the ugly arresting of people that the courts have set free. Yesterday you saw it yourself. Honorable Kamba being rearrested in those ugly scenes, men with guns, not in uniform, not easy to identify, they just come kicking everybody, they bundle a full honorable member of parliament, throw him into the vehicle and take him away. Initially when things began, people were saying, oh, these are terrorists, they are suspects of terrorism, so they deserve that kind of treatment. But now, here it is. If we all condemned it from the onset, probably it wouldn't have, spilled and reached this level. Away from that ugly incident, which I believe taints the image of our country, a lot happened this week, which included also the reading of the national budget, over 70.2 something trillion Uganda shillings is what is in the national budget 2024-2025. President Museveni made his speech, of course, at the same ceremony, and here he spoke against corruption, just like he did a week earlier when he was giving the State of the Nation address, where he emphatically condemned corruption and said that I had some proof that was going to pin some members that had engaged in some corruption activities. It took just a few days when CID summoned 3 members of parliament who it has been withholding until now. As I speak, they are now inmates in New Zealand where they were remanded. That's how serious the man is when it comes to fighting corruption. These are some of the issues that are going to guide our deliberation today on this edition of the dialogue. Edirisa Muwonge is my name. My panelists are here already. At my immediate left is Mr. Matovu Moses. He speaks for Uganda's youngest political party. That's the National Economic Empowerment Dialogue. Good to have you, sir. Once again, how are you doing?
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning to you.
You're doing well.
That's great.
I can tell.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good. Otim Mulega Pesa doesn't need much introduction. He's been with us as well a number of times. Also founder member of this show. He's a political analyst. Claims to be objective, but I've always restricted that. Good to have you once again, sir.
Thank you very much, and good morning to the viewers. Like it has been stated, we're here to always deliberate on matters that are very important to development of the country. And where need be, we shall always object and give credit.
Okay. Yes. We've also been joined by Council Ninsima. Is an NRM cadre. Good to have you, Council.
Good to have you, sir, here also. I'm happy for the host, my fellow panelists. Good morning and good morning, viewers.
I want to learn the correct pronunciation of your name. That's why I'm hesitant to pronounce.
Gachiwayo. Gachiwayo.
Gachiwayo. Which translates as it is still there.
There is still hope.
There is still hope. Oh, Amasko. Good to have you, Council.
Good to have you, sir.
Yeah. Let's start with
Hosted here.
a man who speaks for a party that is well grounded into the economy of this country. Mr. Matovu, let's start with the national budget. From where you were seated or standing, when the minister, or the longest serving finance minister, Matia Kaseja, was reading that national budget, what came into your mind? Were you excited? And before you answer, the president said for the first time he was so pleased and happy with the Minister of Finance when it came to this budget. I hope you had those words. Pick it up.
Do you allow me to give a small highlight of what transpired on Monday?
Uganda is a land of freedom. Carry on.
Well, on Monday we had a press conference, and my president, Joseph Kiza Kableta, addressed the nation. The major point of concern was about the defunct, broken down standby generator. And was assuring Ugandans that that project will not officially materialize. Though it seems there is a way they are trying to impose that generator on Ugandans, but my president said that will never take course. Was referring to, actually was responding to President Museveni's analogy that he has done a lot for this country, but where he has failed, or where he hasn't excelled, his son will take over from there and maybe will complete the task. So Kabuleta said that will never take course. For reasons all we know, that this is not a family rule. We are not into a succession.
And Uganda is not a monarchy.
And it's not a monarchy. So that was one message. Another message was about corruption, where President Museveni cosmetically seemed to be fighting corruption. And according to Kabuleta, one of the most corrupt people in this world, it was President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, with evidence that a certain, is it Robert Ho? There is a certain a Korean man who was arrested and imprisoned for giving bribes to presidents. One of Zambia, whom he gave $2 million, and Ugandan president received $500,000 delivered to him by former Minister Sam Kutesa, and Mr. Museveni agreed receipt of that money. But he actually said he didn't know where the money was coming from, but he received the money. So now, it is surprising that the same person can come up and say he's fighting corruption, even when he knew that Kutesa involved in corruption, whatever activities, nothing was done. He himself took the bribe, he never refunded the money, and nothing was done. But again, he also noted the point that during the 2005 lifting of the term limits, MPs were given 5 million from money coming from State House. We don't know where the State House, but money was coming from State House and was distributed at Musa Court, 5 million each member of parliament. Recently, 2017, it is alleged NRMPs were given 200 million. Again, bribe.
Lifting of the age limit?
Lifting of the age limit. And the man emphatically said, I remember there was a scenario where Kadaga had given 20 million, and for him he came up and gave out 40 million, and they said he's the owner of the money. Nobody else has the authority to give money because it is his money. Now, if money has been...
One point here is that you're questioning the intention of the president.
It's not me, I'm giving you Kabuleta's message. I'm just delivering the message to Ugandans, especially those who never got a chance to know what Kabuleta said. I'm just delivering the message. So, Kabuleta said one of the most corrupt persons on this earth he knows is President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni. And with evidence, with a court evidence. So basically that's what I wanted to deliver. Now back to the point.
I also want to add on that. I'm not saying that for the first time from Kabuleta. My former panelist here, also former Minister for Ethics, Maria Matembe, one time she used to refer to the president as the chief corrupt. She said it a number of times on this particular...
Actually, when Kabuleta said, if we want to chase away corruption from this land, he quoted a certain verse in the Bible. For me, I'm not very conversant with the Bible, but he said, you struck the shepherd, then something like that. That now you do away with this musumba, the corrupt musumba, then other issues will be sorted out.
Let's talk about the budget, Mr. Now, why quickly there? Because in it, you put your focus so much on the economy.
You asked me whether I was happy, whether I was pleased with this budget.
Your reaction?
My reaction to the budget. Let's begin with the theme of the budget. The theme is full monetization of Uganda's economy through commercial agriculture, industrialization, expanding and broadening services, digital transformation, and market access. This is the theme. To simplify for Ugandans, for our viewers, when we say this is the theme, it really means this is the core. This is the best for now for our economy if you take off. okay, we have to put emphasis onto these key issues here. All right? Now, let's begin with this. Last year's budget, 2023-2024, agriculture was apportioned 1.8 trillion. This time round, agriculture has been given 1.6, a deduction of 200 billion. But we are putting much emphasis on agriculture because the biggest percentage of Ugandans depend on agriculture. Okay? That's one. You are reducing where you want to put emphasis. That's one. When we go to industrialization, when you read the budget, it was apportioned, they allocated 404 billion shillings for industrialization, where I want more emphasis. But contrary, when you look at the figures for the inland travels, okay, for the commissioners, the ministers, the whatever, the apportionment is 700 billion. But for industrialization, where the thing is, where we say, when we touch this, we have the nerve. You apportion 404 billion. But repairing and maintenance of government vehicles, they gave it 500 billion. Repairing government vehicles, 500 billion. But industrialization, I emphasize, it is 404 billion. Let's go ahead. Expanding and broadening services. Here we are looking at basically two things, health and education. Both combined, they have a budget of around 4.5 trillion. Both combined. They have a budget of around 4.5 trillion, right? Security alone, 9 trillion. Infrastructure, 4 trillion. Just alone. Now, when we go to digital transformation, they allocated 113 billion. Where the basis is, they allocated 113 billion. Now, all those combined, they take 10% of the, actually less than 10% of the total budget. And that is where our emphasis is. Now, where are we putting the other monies? In paying debts, close to 34 trillion. We are just paying debts, arrears, interest on loans. And what is annoying is interest on loans. As we speak now, we have around 12 trillion shillings in loans we acquired somewhere unutilized, but we are paying interest. You get my point well. Now, so now the question was, am I happy with the budget or not? This budget cannot appease me.
Around 50 point something trillion.
52.
52. That's what I said, 50 something. And now here we're at 70%.
Now,
that,
did you take that trouble of knowing how much was left unfunded? As we speak now, look at URA's target last year. It was 29 trillion. As we speak now, it is short by close to 2 trillion. They have not hit the target. All right? Now, it was still last year that the development partners pulled out their resources. They said, we are no longer funding your activities. So we got short of that. All right? Now, where did we get the money to fund these other activities? And which activities anyway? The classified budget, the donations, right? Donations, classified budgets, giving to the Atiak Sugar, giving to Magola, funding Lugowa Hospital, and all those, funding Munyonyo. Now, it is very interesting. When you go where we put our resources, you not find anything. But where did we get that money? We got that money from our reserves in the Bank of Uganda. Because URA never had the money, two, the development partners denied us the chance. So they rushed to their reserves in the Bank of Uganda. In the form of selling, actually, after touching the reserve, the money that is there, because it wasn't enough, they resorted to selling the so-called treasury bonds. And I know of a minister here in this government, serving minister, who bought treasury bonds worth 100 billion shillings. I'm wondering whether you know what treasury bonds are, or what it means. So this gentleman has given a loan to Ugandans for a period of 10 years. We are going to be giving him interest on his money, and after that period, we shall give him the money. He's a serving minister in this government. Now, when we are making a budget, there are the so-called beneficiaries and those. Now, we have two people. One, the other side, who is a taxpayer. You are paying your money for the other person to eat. So I think we shall widen that discussion. But basically, that's what I can talk about. That where there is emphasis, where we have a theme, all combined, they take less than 10%.
Okay. Otimule.
Yes.
We are giving our insight into the 2024-2025 budget. And like I said, the president said that he was happier than ever with this budget. And also when you look at the growth. Your reaction to it?
Thank you very much. And I'm very grateful that you began with my colleague, because I also wanted him to preempt and get to understand how the opposition reasons and thinks about what we are facing as a budget. But so far, if you look at the 2024-2025 financial budget, it is one that has really come in handy. One is that this particular one has no hands of gamble. It's purely one person that understands keenly what he's doing, and he has tried to guide us. If you were to do an assessment from 52 trillion to 72 trillion, there's been an increment, possibly of over 47 to 50%, if you have to look in that rate. And if you're to say it's because of the expansion in our market access, we have stretched further within the East African region. And then also looking at industrialization, we've been so much focusing in only agriculture. But now the fact that the country is expanding and then looking at industrialization is something that we have seen that is trying to pull up, and then it has expanded the depth of our budget. If you look at the 72 trillion, I'm going to bring it in regard and following what was presented. You're looking at the recurrent expenditure, what is still a portion and possibly was remitted back to government. And then you're looking at development expenditure, which is around 34 trillion. Now, development expenditure, this is monies that possibly are projected towards human development and then capitalization of what is going to pull revenue for government. You're looking at UDB capitalization. There's also the angle of Bank of Uganda capitalization, because of course it touched on the issue of the treasury bonds. It is true, government had reached a point where there was scarcity and they had to borrow a hand. But the 600 billion that has been allocated to Bank of Uganda is to cover up that, and then also work on the capitalization, processes. And then also when you have to look at other things, domestic revenue. You talked about URA. Of course, last year we had a shortfall. 29 trillion was the target. This financial year, URA, we are looking at 32 trillion. So there's been an increment. And if you are to read through URA's submission, you're going to find out that the performances of URA have been on point, have been intact. They are exceedingly doing very well, because with the tax revenues coming in from all sectors, the imports and our exports, and then also within the domestic market, it has been doing well, apart from one or two things that almost brought chaos, the air-freeze and so on. And these are things I think the president yesterday but one had a meeting with the stakeholders. When you have to look at the project support, external debt repayments, there's been an allocation of 3.1 trillion. We have to borrow. As a country, you borrow. I don't think that any country anywhere doesn't have a hand where they don't borrow to run, including us as individuals. Hold on. Let me submit.
Let him, because I also wanted to, because if
yes,
I don't,
I gave you time to. I gave you time to.
Okay.
Yes.
Just allow him. Let him first something. Because he's been laughing when he's
No, I gave him time to speak. Let me
speak.
present my points before I forget.
But about borrowing,
Now, external debt
about the borrowing, the president this time around saying that I said that it's high time we started living within our means.
Yes, within our means.
Cut our cloth according to our court. And also the Minister of Finance also revealed that there was getting embarrassed, humiliated when they go for borrowing. It's not an easy thing. Like
No, just on borrowing.
But also as the
Allow me to
government
say something.
borrows, it can also lend.
You can also lend.
Absolutely.
So on borrowing, you clearly had the president.
have you ever lent an account?
Yes, we have lent countries. We have lent Mozambique money. We have lent the Zambians money.
Please
Malawi.
listen to Mato. He has something funny.
No, but I'm telling you, you see, Matovi he has
Yes,
really, Matovi is he has the art of manipulation. Let me submit my. Let me submit
Let
my
him
budget.
submit. I'm just going to note here
And then he
something.
can note.
Let me note
and
something
Also
here.
submit
Fine.
when he's given the
Carry
time.
on.
So when you talk about external debt repayments, these are debts that we had borrowed. These are debts that have been there, possibly 5 years ago. There are those debts that we have to pay. So if 3.1 trillion is allocated to clearing of those debts, and then we have listened to the permanent secretary come out openly and put it across was that the primary source of our financing for the budget is our domestic revenue, which is at 34 trillion. So I believe that is the angle that we are going to. The fact that we are able to fund our budget by 50-60%, that is okay. The other can be through domestic borrowing and then a bit of the external, through grants. And the grants come in for development issues. We are part of the membership for the UN Sustainability Goals, the SDGs. So mostly money that comes from there is meant for developing. That's why you're seeing that cities like Gulu, there's road construction under UC. So most of this
The
money,
SDGs which the
yes.
president has a problem with.
No, of course you see for him he says that most of the
What
money
is sustainable development? Sustainable
most of the
development,
money
what does that even mean?
No, but
the
he was
president was wondering.
No, but he was in Kenya, and his submission was that most of the monies you are giving us are aimed towards sustainable goals. We don't want sustainability. We want a scenario where we have to develop human development. That you should give birth and let it grow in stages. That's what the president tried to emphasize. That we don't want to borrow money and then the money is for seminars and conferences. We want you to give us the money, let it be put into development, and then we share the effects. If you're taking, if the profit is on the ratio of 4 to 6, that's okay. We have no, that's the mathematics, that's the math that I'm trying to bring across. Now, going back to the budget, project support and domestic financing. Financing what we as a country have come up with. We have those projects. We have the PDMs, we have the MIOGAs, we have government. We have government, programs possibly in the Karamoja sub-region, the hard to reach areas, and all these are all projected towards helping the people to become better communities. Then we have appropriation in aid. Appropriation in aid is what we're talking about. We're lending monies. Congo is partly South Sudan. We give them money. But this is something that is going to be put on public, that government or possibly of Uganda has lent South Sudan money or something. But that is happening. And then we have domestic areas. Domestic debt repayment was allocated 9.1 trillion. We have to pay. We borrowed money from possibly Bank of Uganda. We borrowed money from NSSF. All that has to be catered for. So, and then plus others that were allocated. Human capital development was given 9.9 trillion. That is invested in education, health sector, skills development. Now, government is trying to see how we can empower skills, vocational skilling, and then a scenario where we develop our people to turn out from the white collar jobs, to look at how they can use what they learn to develop their communities. And you are seeing that through the State House, I think, industrial hub, we have seen how they have empowered most of those very young people, and then they have boy child, and then also girl child. Now they're able to manufacture shoes, be able to manufacture the domestic, basic, companies. That is something that the spokesperson of NID will not tell you. But he has only highlighted on the negativities. I wanted him, if you were talked about having a wider view and review of the budget, you should have told us the good and then the bad. And we see how we can dialogue to work on this thing. That's why we come here.
Maybe if you allowed him, don't tell us the positive. Listen to him now for a second.
Mine was to give you a clear picture of the budget.
Yes, I know.
And I will submit it.
You have submitted. Sure. Okay, now, something small, because you talked about the borrowing.
Yes.
And I want to respond to that borrowing. They are paying 3.1 trillion on loans, not so?
Yes.
But we have 12 trillion in arrears. You understand? And they are going to pay 9 trillion in interest on loans. Not paying the loan.
I beg your
but
pardon.
I'm giving you information.
Domestic debt repayment is a 9.1 trillion.
Interest on loans. No.
I have not seen any interest here. And there's also a provision for interest. External debt repayment is 3.1 trillion. I'm not seeing any interest rates. The interest rates I read for you are visibly there. And you can see.
Or maybe his contention is about the
interest payments. You see, the interest payments are clearly stated here. This is 9 trillion.
Maybe what he has
9 trillion. Yes, that's what I'm saying. Interest payment. Interest is on a loan.
There is money that was borrowed during the time when the current Minister of Trade, that is the Honorable Mahata, was the Minister of Finance.
I'm saying we are paying 9 trillion in interest.
Yes, but
let's listen to
overdue loans.
Overdue loans.
And we have areas. We have 12 trillion areas. In areas.
No.
Yes.
Official, I want to.
I wanted to give him information because we are in areas 12 trillion.
Mr. Matoro. Let me pick Mr. Mesima's
Yes, I want to thank my fellow panelists. I want to thank my fellow panelists for their observation and the insight into the 2024-2025 Ugandan budget that was read last week, and at a figure of 72 trillions compared to the last budget. That was last year's budget.
Last financial year.
Yeah, last financial year's budget that was at 52 trillion. Maybe before I give my insight, the spokesperson of NID in his preamble, I've analyzed that his message, the reported speech he was giving to
his president,
of his party president, was majorly full of malice and hatred. Not only
no, he was just reporting and we're discussing the budget.
Absolutely, but I've observed
that
it was more of malice and hatred to the president and the government in his reported
speech. Did you also
speech.
listen to his justification?
Of course I did, but you see, especially when he talked about the corruption,
Yes.
When he talked about corruption, I've been noting here. He talked about president is the most corrupt person. He was given his money.
Reporting.
Yes, that's what I have seen. But of course, as a card, I cannot leave it in the eyes of the viewers that this was really misinformation, and we cannot go by that. So, to the point is that we are happy as a country that we are moving a step ahead. Because when you compare the last financial year's budget of the 52 trillion, and today we are having a budget of 72 trillion, this is more of really a step that we are growing.
It's a manifestation of growth.
Yes, a manifestation of growth that we are growing as a country, and where Ugandans must also be very happy of this country and the government. Because had it not been for President Museveni's efforts and government, we wouldn't have moved all that far to 72 trillions. Maybe what I've notified is that this budget is tackling the four core principles of the NRM the president has always been talking about. And to the Ugandans, I can summarize them in less than a minute. That is patriotism, Pan-Africanism, socio-economic transformation, and democracy. Because you see, when we say that we are monetarizing Uganda's economy and we are giving priorities now to the agriculture sector, to the industrialization and the digital transformation, it means this is the very four core principles that the NRM and our president has always been talking about. So I believe that as a country or as a growing country, some challenges along the way can come. But what do we have to do? That whenever there is a challenge, we sit down as a country and see how best we can harmonize or work upon that challenge for us to move. Because even the superpower countries we admire as a country have always gone through challenges. Because you see, countries like America, countries like China, countries like, those, the ones we admire, they did not get onto where they are just in a single day. They also moved in 2 steps. So that's what I'm saying, that if we can move, or if we are moving from 52 trillion to 72, it is really a great observation that as a country, the economy is growing, and we are really very happy about that.
Council,
yes.
Before you continue, the need here, the out there, should I term it as a slogan, money in your pocket. So much as you're telling us how the economy is growing, but is that growth also fed by a Ugandan, an ordinary Ugandan down there in Chanamukaka or in your village where you emanate from? Do you feel that Ugandan there feels that growth?
And some information as we speak about the growth of the country. The recent reports I read from those of Bank of Uganda, they indicate we have 9.3 million youth aging between 18 and 35, unemployed, educated, trained, but totally unemployed, right? Now, I wonder the kind of growth you're talking about, and if you're taking the path of industrialization as an answer, and you allocate it 404 billion, vis-a-vis the 700 billion for inland travels, I mean, the kind of growth there, the way you do your mathematics, I'm just imagining, and whether the ordinary Ugandan, as we refer to them, the ordinary Ugandans, where they feel that growth in their pockets. And basically, as you talk about growth, reasons why you are failed to collect the target. So I think they can have.
Maybe to respond, first of all, you've asked that does an ordinary Ugandan feel that this country is growing or there is growth? The answer is yes, but the growth is always put into phrased stages or in a phrased manner. We cannot just grow into a single day or 2 days, but it is done in a phrased manner.
It's a process.
Yes, it is a process. Because you see, there are countries or there are regions where we have, as government, started improving the livelihoods of Ugandans. I can give you an example of Karamoja sub-region. It is not the usual Karamoja where government was coming into power in 1986. Now when you reach Karamoja, it is a transformed region that you can even admire to stay. Even the other time, I think in 86, when government had just taken over power, people could not even think of traveling to Karamoja. But I'm telling you, go to districts like Moroto.
The infrastructure was even very bad.
Absolutely, yes. Yes, my brother.
From your statement, if there is a Karamajong who is watching this program right now, you may think that you're mocking them.
I'm not.
On your way here, I'm pretty sure you saw children on the streets of Kampala begging. And those children, they are all emanating from one region of Uganda, and that is Karamoja. So I wonder what kind of transformation we're talking about. Yes, the government of Uganda may have constructed good roads there.
And schools.
But look at the people. Have they transformed them or you still talk about a group that you may think is still marginalized.
I told you.
We have street kids here emanating from the same region. When you go there, you may find that one of the groups of Ugandan tribes which is still, impoverished. The Karamojong may still be in the first position. And here you are talking about their transformation. They don't feel the transformation.
But you see, the fact that
I think
government...
I think to chip into you, Council, just giving information.
Yes, sir.
Because partly
Yes,
I'm attached to that sub-region. Teso, Karamoja sub-region, those are literally the same people. Karamoja sub-region, if you were to do your assessment,
the way it was
has
and it is
gradually
today.
improved from the other stage that it used to be. The first time I went to Karamoja, I was a very young man, but at least I would understand what was happening. Because I have my uncles who were based in Moroto. One was a DPC, and then the other was it should be late 90s. Karamoja that you see today, and compared to the one that I saw, the previous one, are totally changed scenarios. The only thing that we have been trying, even when I encounter and discuss with some of the leaders, both the RDCs and the MPs, is mindset change. Build a mindset change within Karamoja sub-region to change how these people reason, to accept what they're doing. But I'm telling you, if you're to go and check and do an assessment on most communities in Karamoja, they are very organized by
mindset change.
And they have accepted and they have absorbed the government programs. The PDMs, the muwonges, and so on are performing very well in those sub-regions. The only thing is mindset change. Let these people accept to embrace education. Let these people
whose responsibility is it, Mr. Tim?
Because the leaders. That's what you see.
I know been derailed, but now that you raised it,
You see,
we're talking about the leaders encouraging the community, because you see, Karamoja has those people have their own community. They have their own community.
You see,
you find that before we are here, have a certain community, and we have Matovi the elder. Whatever that Mr. Matovi is going to say is what the other people will absorb.
Council Nisima, I want to point out to you before I bring you back on track, because I know there are some people watching us, and they could be Karamojong.
Yes.
In this country called Uganda,
Yes.
there was a tribe which lived exactly the same lifestyle like the Karamojong people. But right now, as I speak, they transformed, and they are now among the people who are living the best life. And I'm talking about the Hima community. And that tribe changed with President Museveni coming to power. Now, what your team is talking about the mindset. I think the government of Uganda has a responsibility to carry the same efforts it used to transform the Hima community, to also carry the same efforts to Karamoja sub-region. To do the same. If they did, we'd have those people, also get on board with the rest of Ugandans. But let's carry on.
You see, my brother, I was telling you and the viewers that transformation is done in a phased manner by government.
When I talk about 40 years, close to 40 years, how long is it going to take President Museveni, to realize change? He's talking about this idea of DNR, the social economic transformation. People are wondering. Now I know you're about to tell us about these initiatives the government has come up with. The Tandikwa, the Yoga, the PPM.
Why do you preempt?
That's why you're taking us. Because in software talks about social economic transformation, that's what it talks about. But council, you look for its impact on Ugandans. You may hardly find any, a positivity that these initiatives are brought about among the Ugandans. They talked about the PDM as the last bullet in poverty's head. But as I speak, so many Ugandans still surviving under $1.
But you see, on maybe on that issue, when my fellow panelists were coming in to give me information and also substantiate on the same, I was driving at a point of saying that some regions have transformed, but the transformation is done into a phased manner. I mentioned about the Karamoja sub-region, where government, through the initiative of putting there even a ministry under the
Karamoja Affairs.
Under the Karamoja Affairs, the OPM, that is the Office of the Prime Minister, has done a lot to rehabilitate Karamoja, the way it was and the way it is now. Because me who has traveled to that side, you go to districts like Kabong and you sleep in a 4-star hotel. You see, that is the transformation we are
The
saying.
ownership doesn't matter.
That's the transformation we are saying, because that hotel they have built there is going to attract tourists, and who are going to come into the country and contribute really something good to the development of this country. Also to mention is that this Ministry of Gender, Labour and Social Development, in partnership with the KCCA, the labor officers and the concerned individuals, have done a lot to see that really they bring away all these children. You have been saying the street children who come from Karamoja, and they take them either back to Karamoja or even take them to schools and where they have attained education. But the challenge we still have as government is that there are opportunists in this whole scenario where people go to Karamoja and they have made it a living, which is really so embarrassing. They have done it a living to go to Karamoja, pick these children,
to Kampala.
Promise them that I'm taking you to city, you are going to get
Working in
jobs.
factories and industry.
And working in factories and industry, whereas not.
This 5-year-old, 6-year-old,
Absolutely.
7-year-old.
You see, you will wonder why KCCA and Ministry of Gender, Labour and Social Development come up with an operation in all streets of Kampala. They remove all these children, and tomorrow you find them here, or after a day or a week. They are opportunists. They are individuals who are really gaining and making it a business to bring these children on the streets of Kampala.
Take us
So,
back.
I think you as a lawyer,
So meaning,
you as a lawyer, that is child trafficking, not so.
Absolutely.
Now, why don't we charge those people?
They have been aligned in courts of law.
I'm sure.
They have been aligned, yes.
And we still have children on
You
the
go to
road.
KCCA, there is a magistrate court at State Hall. State Hall here, but these people have been aligned in courts.
Who exactly do you know has been aligned?
No, I'm not here to mention the people.
No, these are
Mr.
complex.
Matov, let's forget direct. Let's go back to
Why do we hide
president.
this?
Even some cases are still ongoing, so I don't want to be sub judice.
Council Nisima,
Yes.
I was enjoying it when you were taking us through what the president was telling us at Kololo.
For me, I'm waiting for the other development that we have grown, we have developed.
Principles of
The
the
URA staff, why they failed to hit the target.
Yes,
Mr.
that's-
Matov, let me be able to ask questions, sir.
Mr. Matov has become a moderator, and yet he's a
Let him not hijack my job.
So he should really observe to the regulations.
We should change the seats
To
now.
the regulations and rules of the panel.
Okay, Council, let's go back to the president's remarks.
Yes.
And by that, I also want to justify what his president was speaking about, the president. You see, Ugandans have really questioned, whether you like it or not, you're going to come and defend it today, tomorrow, and the other day, that Ugandans have questioned the intentions of the president when it comes to fighting corruption. You just mentioned Karamoja sub-region here, and you're telling us about how the government has put in efforts to help those people. However, I want to remind you that not so long ago, this government came up with a program to take relief items to those people there. And some of those relief items were stolen. Among the people who stole them, the president promised to take political action against them. But what did he do? He maintained those very thieves. And I want to call them thieves deliberately, because you would tell that they used these items that were meant for such, vulnerable group. Somebody used it, a person of a minister like Lugorobi, to thatch his goat shed. I call that theft, because he's using something which is branded with government Prime Minister's office. And we thought that the president of Uganda, who should be concerned about his image and reputation, you do out with such people. If the court has not punished them, you as the president, politically do out with them. But this is a man who maintains his cabinet. Why shouldn't we sit and question his intentions?
You have just mentioned the scam of the Mabat. Some two honorable ministers are
Out of
in
that
cabinet.
eight.
Yes, let me tell you.
You see, Council,
Yes.
this is information.
That has been selective.
We witnessed where there was a mini reshuffle. And the people, like I've always stated, if you are given any leadership role, you should take up the responsibility of effecting the things in the right way.
Council, as a lawyer, I wouldn't expect to argue like Otim.
No, the moment you
Otim is arguing like a politician. As a lawyer, the custodian of the law ought not be selective.
The law has
and we know very well that
Ugandan law has never been for sale.
That if I stole something and I sold it to him, he's also a culprit. You know that? That's about the Ugandan laws.
Yes.
So now, the president coming out to punish only 2 ministers. We don't talk about more than 10 ministers.
They're the ones who lied and gave these things to those people.
But you see, the framers of our 1995 constitution, they cited an article which is 120 that brings about the office of the DPP. And so they gave all the powers to the Director of Public Prosecutions in criminal matters.
That's a political statement.
No, it's not. Let me tell you, it's not. I am saying Article 120 Clause 3 brings about the functions of the DPP. And one of that, of the functions is to guide police on how to investigate these criminal offenses or matters.
Yes.
Now, second also is that the DPP in any criminal file or charge can also have the powers to discontinue the charges against anybody. So now, we are saying that those ministers you mentioning about, those who were discontinued, but their charges were discontinued by the DPP, we can no longer discuss about them because they were
acquitted.
No, the charges were discontinued against them. But also, what I wanted to say is that corruption is evil. Whoever gets involved into it, even if you're a high-profile person in this country, the law must take its course. That's what we are saying. When you look at the 10-point program that brought about the NRM, we prioritized point number 7 as elimination of corruption.
Should you do a checklist in the 10-point program?
Yes, as elimination of corruption and misuse of power. This is what we are saying. This is what we are condemning. That whoever is corrupt in this country must face the law. There is a South African professor called Surui Mondesera. He's a former public prosecutor. One day he was talking about the ANC in South Africa, and he mentioned that corrupt politicians have eroded Mandela's good legacy. That is by the Professor through Mondosera. Now, I am borrowing the professor's words that the corrupt politicians of the other time had eroded President Mandela's good legacy to move or to preside over a country. The same I am borrowing to put it here, that the corrupt politicians have eroded President Museveni's good legacy.
Those are words of the president, actually. I even read in my preamble where he said that these corrupt people are insulting the heroes.
Absolutely.
But
absolutely. What we have to do in this corruption or these corrupt scandals we see here the other time,
let's first take a break. When we come back,
is to collectively participate.
Let's take a break. When we come back, we shall have ample time to discuss this.
Council is a true candor.
Is what even caused. What even caused the members of parliament.
True candor.
Gentlemen, let me communicate. The two members of parliament that I'm talking about, as I speak, they are still in Zura prison. However, one yesterday was, given bail, only to be rearrested in those ugly, incidents that we saw. Let's take a break. The dialogue continues.
Matovu, you
This Sunday on BTM,
we bring you one of the most challenging experiences in life, dealing with breakups.
I didn't cry, I'm a big boy.
I think the time that I went through the hardest points in my life,
I learned to appreciate pain.
Kolea ukanyeko n'omuntu. Okikoloti obutachayo.
Sophie, bw'oba olumwa tosobola kulumwa nga atalumwangako.
Nze nnumwa. Bazadde baffe please si ffe twabafunira bataata.
Sit back and relax with BTM. We transform.
Uganda, your #1 leading education newspaper, is back, bigger and better. With articles to fully suit the educational triangle from the government, schools and parents all over the country, aiming at answering the ever left out questions, not forgetting revision questions and answers set by experienced teachers to prepare students for their finals. The Lana newspaper is supplied to over 12,068 schools all over the country with affordable advertising rates. We offer many more services which include uniform and sweater tailoring, all with an aim of easing work for the education. Contact us on 0754 777 029 or 0774 621 539. Email us on info@lananews.com or visit our website at www.lananews.com. You can also visit our offices at City Center Complex, room J15, 4th floor, along Loom Street. The Lana, prioritizing education.
With us. You're still watching the dialogue. Even when in a break, I mean the discussion does continue. But thank you so much for keeping it BTM TV. We're still discussing, giving our insight into the national budget and also the speeches, the reactions from various parties, including what the president said. Lately, the president of the Republic of Uganda has been busy speaking against the corrupt. And remember, even during his State of the Nation address, this time around said that he even had the proof. And he was going to take serious action against these corrupt officers from both from Parliament and from also the Minister of Finance. But we are yet to see anybody apprehended from the Minister of Finance. I don't know whether he has not yet gathered enough evidence. But 3 members of Parliament, as we speak, they are still, in Luzira. Council are still submitting. But I want to point it out to you now that we are discussing boldly corruption. The truth of the matter is that when you look at the 10-point program, among the achievements that the president has achieved, himself is going to admit that he has failed on corruption. And he has not just failed, but he himself is kind of condoning corruption. You may think like that. Because if he was very serious against the corrupt, like he said, because we feel that this is not only tainting his image, but also the image of the country. Right now, we are having the third most powerful person in the hierarchy of Uganda's leadership, having sanctions on her head. She can't travel to the US. Here's the UK sanctioning her. And their accusation is one, corruption. And you're about to see so many. I don't think this leaves Uganda the same. So as some people say that maybe the president himself is condoning corruption, maybe that's the background where they come from. That he, as the CEO of this country, he has the prerogative to end corruption. But at times he creates soft ground for the corrupt Even remember when he was giving his State of the Nation address, he said that yes, these people were corrupt, but others just made mistakes. They were just thrown into this. And maybe these ones, we may not be so hard on them. Is it not condoning corruption? Carry on.
First of all, I want to thank you, my brother, for pointing out this corruption, because some of the wars that this NRM government has fought has really come up victorious on them. Because remember, the wars we have fought in northern Uganda, we have been fighting the ADF in Congo, we have fought the Karamoja, the cattle rustlers, and other disturbing kind of instability wars. But now the war we still have in this country is corruption. And government or President Museveni has not failed on this war. But the war cannot be fought by one person or one institution. It calls for collective responsibility and efforts as Ugandans. Because you see, if we don't participate in this as Ugandans, the money that is being swindled, the money that is being taken or embezzled or misused is taxpayers' money. So your mother from where you come from is a taxpayer. My mother in Kabraliantonde is a taxpayer. So if we don't collectively participate in this war and we say, it is only for government and President Museveni, the war will not end. Because we have to act as whistleblowers, we have to collectively participate in this war to see that our country really is an admirable and a good-looking country.
The former IGG of this country, Irene Muliagonja, one time she stated, she's a justice, she stated that looks like some people are failing my job. Because when I pursue the corrupt, when I'm about to nab them, there is this phone call I receive telling me to back off. Not so long ago, the current IGG of Uganda, and that is Betty Sam Olivokanya, she came up with a very, very good strategy that somebody thought that if it was employed, it would have helped to curtail or even erase corruption in this country, and that was the lifestyle audit. The President of the Republic of Uganda was the first one to come out and tell her, go slow. That is going to worsen the situation because the corrupt are going to take the money outside the country, which is going to be another problem. Sir, shouldn't you continue to question the will of the president to fight corruption in this country?
But you see, first of all, Ugandans must know that once you are given an office, at a certain time T, Ugandans will make you accountable for what you did during your tenure. Now, as the IGG or the Inspectorate of Government is first of all is holding a constitutional mandate to do its work and to prosecute even the corrupt individuals. So when you say the president stopped me, and yet the constitution gives you powers to do the same, at a certain time T, when you have left that office, people or Ugandans will account or will say, during the tenure of Honorable Betty or Vunamisango Kamya, did not perform because of A, B, C, D.
Because she was frustrated by the president.
No, you see, you cannot be frustrated when you have the powers to prosecute.
Can you go against the president?
What I mean, you do what you are constitutionally mandated to do.
But in an event where the president tells you don't take that part, what do you do?
But I mean, you see, you also do what you are expected to do.
So you go against your boss.
And demand the president's
constitutional
guidance.
If the president has come and said...
In Uganda's context, you go against the president of Uganda.
No, what I mean, now, you think ever since that speech, the IGG's office has never arrested anybody? Because the president said, and then you go there, you fold your hands in the office they gave you as an IGG, and then you just sit.
Can I give you some of the statistics?
Yes.
Ever since that was said?
For as long as they are not diversionary.
No, they are not. The most recent report they have, they have collected 3.6 billion, not trillion, of the 11 trillion shillings being lost in corruption tendencies.
Per year.
Only 3.6 for 6 months. I mean, 6 months. That's half a year. Now, if you had taken the other route, you never know what would have.
But you see, what?
So, a few people have been arrested, as you say, but these are marginal, these are minor,
small fish.
You just imagine 3.6 billion.
You see,
of the 11 trillion really, the fraction.
You see, my brother, we are saying we must empower these institutions. We must empower these institutions as Ugandans. You see, institutions have been put up by government and even commissioned institutions like State House Anti-Corruption Unit that is headed by General Henry Isok, which has done a great work. Every day, corrupt individuals are lying in courts. They are being arrested by police and coordinated by State House Anti-Corruption team to be brought.
Together with the IGG.
Absolutely. IGG brings them and they are accounted or they are lined in courts of law. Some of them have even trembled. You see, when you steal, you tremble because it is real and evil. So those who have trembled, State House Anti-Corruption Unit has gone for them and has brought them before courts of law. I credit State House Anti-Corruption Unit under the visionary and able leadership of General Henry Isok that has done a great work. However, that institution will not keep carrying on its expected work perfectly when we have not collectively joined to the war as Ugandans. Because you see, State House Anti-Corruption Unit will not be in Kayunga. But you as a Ugandan who is in Kayunga, and my brother who comes from Masaka, Greater Masaka, is the one to give the message, now that he is privileged to have been hosted on such media platforms, that he has got knowledge from us, the cadres. Let him go back and empower or disseminate the message.
Not diversion, just allow me to give information.
That the war is not only for President Museveni, is not only for commissioned institutions in the fight against corruption, but we must collectively participate in it.
Yes, some information. You were praising somebody, the wisdom of who in the anti-State House anti-corruption? General Soke. President Museveni recently was on the podium telling Ugandans that there is a lot of corruption in the State House. Now, what amuses me, this General Soke drives out of State House where there is immense corruption, and he goes to Kayunga to pick corrupt officials, leaving them in State House.
But
don't you find that amusing?
Information. When the president was speaking at the State of the Nation address, he himself said, I have been just hearing it, but good enough, some are in court. Are you the one who took them to court?
He has a valid evidence.
Are you the one who arrested those State House officials? It is the State House Anti-Corruption Unit coordinating with other institutions to bring them before the law.
Mr. Mato, I've been amused by this president, maybe from your perspective, you go share with me. Lately, the man has been busy talking about corruption. We all know that one of the challenges that these governments have been grappling with for a long time now is corruption eradication. But himself now, he's portraying himself as the person who is at the front line of fighting corruption. To the extent that even he caused the arrest of full members of parliament. They are in prison, cutters of him. What is the president? Is he bluffing? Is he really serious this time around that he's fighting corruption? Is he looking at 2026? Is he concerned about his image and the image of the people he fought alongside? He even mentioned somewhere that these corrupt officials, they are tainting the image of the NRM. They are insulting the heroes. They are going against the values of what the NRA/NRM fought for.
They are eroding the good legacy.
I think we have had a good discussion several times here about corruption. And I've always given my position very clearly, and I don't want to mince it this time around too. Cosmetically and rhetorically, the president of this country is fighting corruption.
Cosmetically and
rhetorically, the president of this country
let him submit his opinion.
is fighting corruption. I've always stated that one of the key pillars, the strongest pillars of NRM, and why the man has stayed in power for all this long, is because of corruption. Actually, if he had not given the 5 million per member of parliament in 2005, the man would have gone long ago to lift the term limits.
But it's the MPs who requested that as the transport fund.
Yes, now he's saying he requested that as transport.
No, let me tell him, staying longer in power by government is by the will of the Ugandans.
It is okay. I'm giving my submission. You can be noting a few things. It's okay.
Who vote for
now, let's communicate. Let's communicate.
Yeah, which is okay. But now, again, when you talk about the will of Ugandans, we have witnessed on several occasions during NRM primaries. I think you could be having some videos where they are just splashing out money in their lines, just freely giving out money to vote. That's corruption, and nobody's bothered.
But they vote.
So you buy the will of people. So they are buying the will of people.
No.
So and that is okay. Go back to now.
Some errant politicians.
Go back to your point. Council, we don't have money.
No, I told you.
I want
Council is a true cadre of NRM. So he cannot leave anything. But I think you can be noting a few things.
No,
so that our viewers can have a good discussion. Right? Now, President Museveni Yoweri Kaguta, recently, he even said that when you fight corruption, when you fight those civil servants and whatever, they are going to make this government fall. You can't.
Let me remind what he said. In fact, I had a problem with that.
And now,
in fact, let me point out to you, to everybody who's on this show. In fact, even yesterday we were discussing with my colleagues here. After expressing my disappointment in the president, he said it during the State of the Nation address, where he said that, you see, they cannot arrest all the corrupt because he's going to run out of people to work with. Now, this is a huge disappointment. The president knows, maybe he's not in touch with the people who's governing this country. We have so many graduates on the streets of Kampala who are unemployed.
Not those things.
The only reason he wants to work with the corrupt is because if he's to arrest everybody or to do out with everybody, he's going to lose people to work with. That's not good.
So, I was saying, that's one of the pillars. And I don't think he can successfully cut that tree. Every time when there is that critical issue in parliament, you see money exchanging hands from he's the one with the money, we all know. So he sanctions that and it happens and they do in his favor. Now, there is no way you can fight corruption when it's the pillar upon which you are standing. I mean, you control this country. Is the very person you hear him buy this opposition person, buying the other one, and it becomes like it's normal. It's business as usual. We have transactions in politicians. Okay? Now, yes, they are. It is okay. It is okay. Whether it is shaming, whether it is what, but it is being done by the same person I talk about. So that's why I say cosmetically, the person of Museveni is impressively trying to show that he's fighting corruption. But because there is this public uproar, definitely he has to do something. Definitely. There must be a sacrificial lamb. There must be sacrificial lamb.
No, we don't have sacrificial in corruption.
That is what is happening now. Do you want to tell me that these are the most corrupt officials in parliament?
But you see,
we have
the president holds proof against.
Right? Now, in 1959,
we say that he has proof against them.
No.
Shortly after that, we saw them being arrested.
Absolutely, he gets information from the agencies that fight corruption.
So he was the whistleblower in this case.
So, let me tell you maybe what the president said last year.
Well, before you do that, I can tell that as the media, including myself, who is an investigative journalist,
yes,
not once, not twice, I've been here acting as a whistleblower. He said, but I know such and such a corruption scandal is unfolding, and I've not been listened to. I see ID swing into action, even when we provide all the evidence that we have. But the president just talks about it, that there are some people engaging in corruption tendencies, and also have proof. just takes 1 or 2 days.
And when they wanted to take on, when they wanted to take on this Minister of Science and Technology, this woman, Mosenero. You remember
he's a big Mkada, don't you?
Yeah, don't touch my decorated office.
I'll deal with you.
You understand? Now, what is Lee Kuan Yew of Singapore 1959? What he did first was to make the independence, to institute the independence of the judiciary and these other organs of the government. Such that now, judiciary is independent, but when the man is in a Kororo, he says, I hear this is bail. Bail is a prerogative of the court. Why do you interfere in the bail?
The Chief Justice guided on that.
Make your point, because you're going to
I think please. You have to respond to every statement I make.
No,
that's it. You know?
Carry on, but
the man, this man of Singapore, the first thing was to have the so-called political will. If the political will is not there, there is no way you can fight corruption. But now, what are those tenets? What are those characteristics? What are the tenets of corruption? I've always told you, we have the tribalism, nepotism, sectarianism. Those are 3 key pillars that if you're to fight corruption, you first deal with them. Because a few years ago, you remember General Salim Saleh was a Minister of State for Finance, Microfinance. Yes, that's it. Okay? And a few things here and there went in the wrong direction. Okay? There was some sort of mismanagement of funds. You know what his brother did was just to dwell with him, and he said, you man, you can't manage this. Okay? He sidelined him, not prosecuting him, not doing anything, but now as we speak, is the head of operational wealth creation. And in 2022, right? Do we just reshuffle the corrupt officials?
In 2022, what happened?
But when someone
just a minute, do we just reshuffle corrupt officials? In 2022, when Parliament passed their budget, the big man got the budget, took it to Kapeka. He brought a report back that my people in Kapeka, the operation with the creation guys, are telling me this is not acceptable. Remove this. After Parliament of 529 people passing it, a few people, and the head of the few is the Kapeka man, a corrupt official who mismanaged the microfinance funds. So that's what I'm saying, that where there is tribalism, where there is nepotism, where there is sectarianism reigning in the country, there is no way you can successfully fight corruption. And on top of that, when the political will is not there.
Okay. Team Levy, Akona Peso.
Yes.
All the time I've had you here, I've always grilled you. You've always been defending the president, but I still insist. And just like you said.
But I've always told you I'm always objective.
Now speak of objectivity. You really think the president of Uganda is determined to erase corruption and deal with the corruption?
Thank you very much. I have heard from my fellow panelists, in particular the spokesperson.
I'm waiting to see how it intercepts you.
Of course, you see, for corruption, I want to be a little independent in opinions that I'm going to give. First is that I thank the president for coming out to speak about it, because it has been long overdue. And
speaking about
for the sake that we have seen scenarios where they have been throwing words left, right, but the president coming out and then actions begin taking, and people already are aligned in corruption and already in prison. I thank the president for that. The other thing, this one, the president is my principal, and I've always looked towards his leadership and governance. But there's always one thing that I have not agreed with him, and this is on principle. That is the fact that he has accepted these oppositions to lure him and then convince or rather manipulate him into bringing them into government. Into government. Those are the people that are affecting his governance and leadership. Most of the people that are involved in the corruption scandals, and this one I don't want to do the spokesman.
I don't original NRM.
No, most of the people that Hold on, let me submit.
I was going to mention them,
Moderator, please
and you tell me whether
protect
they are
me.
coming from opposition.
I don't want to mention names.
No, these are on record.
Most of
They have
the
court
people,
cases, on record cases.
most of the people that were rather absorbed into the NRM system
And those who come with this
are the ones that are tainting the name
like
of
a
the
speaker,
NRM government.
Anita Momo.
I told them I'm not going to mention names.
That's
But
why you are
and the country knows.
everybody can tell.
Now, the corruption scandals that you are seeing that are heavily immersed, and I'm telling you that there are institutions that are heavily, I don't even know how to term the corruption, but there is heavy corruption. You know how a cow goes and takes water from the well when it's thirsty? That is how the corruption is in those institutions. And most of these people are people that were absorbed into the NRM system. When we sat down with some of my colleagues, I have one who's the coordinator. I think he's phase 4 commander here in patriotism, the NSP, the Secretariat for Patriotism. We discussed about it and emphasized and said it is high time government came up with the policy or came up with the system of building an oriented cycle of leadership within the young people.
Not the likes of Mukula.
Hold on, I'm talking about the young leaders. We are all young people here sitting here. Now, patriotism has the capacity to put people in a place and orient them, cut off the thing. That's what China is doing. By the time you don't need Chakwanzi. They were already places that were gazetted. In Tororo, there was a place that was gazetted to put up a patriotism school, an institute of leadership. You go there, it was going to be mandatory. Anyone that has completed college, that is high school, A-level, was supposed to go there. If you have completed university, go there and serve 1 year. That's what Nigeria is doing. So if we had a point where it is compulsory for you to attain a certificate of leadership and build in you the ethics of integrity, that would have yielded results. We would not be having these high levels of corruption. Now, by the time someone comes and abuses you on media, someone comes and insults you on the floor of parliament, and you are very quick to absolve those people and give them money. Those are the same people that are going to develop that immunity that, after all, I am here, and they are going to continue siphoning. Now the president is faced with the challenge. The institutions are fighting corruption, but there are people who are also using money to manipulate people. You know the power.
You did elaborate on the point you began with.
Yes.
So you said you have a problem with the president, bringing members of the opposition to his government. Are you trying to insinuate that these people are corrupt?
There are people who have been absorbed in the system, they are giving them the money, and they are the same people who are spoiling the name of the president.
Some information.
He gave you names like
yes, we have
I'm not here to name them because I don't.
No. That's why I can name because these are on record. Yes, these ones are on record.
You're making a claim.
Whatever that's going to be mentioned,
yes, it's me.
It's not from.
It's me. Okay. We have Mike Mukula on record.
You have made
yes. No. Gavi funds.
Yes.
Okay, Mike Mukula is on record.
Those are all.
Jimo Ways is on record.
A second.
Public.
I want to put this. I want this
public
record.
Those are all cases that were.
I want this
public
record.
Yes,
Mr. Matupa and Mr. Otim.
Yes.
Otim, you're making a huge allegation, which has not pleased some people who are watching us.
You're trying to allege. Not mention names.
Yes,
but
that's what
I only looked at it.
Let us listen to each other.
I only brought.
You're making a claim
point
that you want to refute with records. It's what he's doing.
That's
the records are there. We have the cases of Captain Mike Mukula together with the
Those are original NRA. Are they not?
Those are original.
What about Addis Kabayo?
I am telling. Those are all cases that we.
These are on record. These are. They have never been in opposition.
But those people were penalized. The people that were in charge.
Yes, but they have never been in opposition.
Now, what I'm trying to
maybe when they were in the bush.
What I'm trying. Let's get this clearly. Council, guide me. Let's get this clearly.
I'm going to guide.
What I'm trying to bring. Yes, what I'm trying to bring to our attention. I am only faulting my principle, the fountain of honor, on trying to accept the manipulation of the oppositions into using money to commercialize politics. That's what I'm trying to talk about.
Chandi Jamwa.
We have people you're only bringing the handful of people that were already.
But these have been committed.
And they're not in government.
They have been committed.
They're not in government, but there are people who are in government. And they have been in opposition.
What about the Is that Jim was a minister?
No, this. You're the spokesman, and this one, I have brought it because there is already information I'm getting within the
that those who have come from opposition,
there are people who are in opposition whose work is to come here and insult, but they're aiming at that. Now, when the money comes to you, the public is going to see that.
That's blackmail, unless you
learn the
tell.
Not blackmail.
Evidence.
That is information. No, it can be an allegation, but that is information.
But for me,
and my brother here knows.
I'm giving facts.
Now, aside from that, on the issue of corruption, we have already witnessed where we have 3 members of parliament that have been arraigned in court. One was actually even given bail, and then there's no problem. But I'm not giving
opposition.
Now, this was someone that was given bail and then was rearrested.
Kamba.
And also, yes, Honorable Kamba. And also, there is another list that has come out of members that are supposed to be apprehended, summoned, and then they are supposed to answer queries on the issues of corruption.
Even on the day of the budget reading,
yes,
the deputy speaker came out and said, "Don't shy away from coming to the budget reading."
Yes, but there are some who is not.
They said because they said it was going to start.
When the president mentioned during his honor, when the president mentioned about corruption, I think it was during the budget. About corruption, there are people who were shouting about the service awards, and the president said, "Don't bring me into your confusion or your fights of the commissioners." So his statement indirectly is stating that whatever that is happening within your confines, handle it your way. Don't pull me into that saga. That's the thing. The honorable Sekiku was Honorable Saro Pendi, and then there's one that I've not mentioned, but is a very close friend, are the ones that are behind the censorship motion. I don't know why Matov is laughing. They are behind the censorship, the censor motion. Now, for that motion, people who have taken up leadership, as long as you have taken public money or funds, and it's not in the right channel, you have to pay. The 1.7 billion has to be paid. Yesterday, Honorable Anita Evelyn also wrote to Uganda Investment Authority. They also gave themselves 500 million of service award. They also have to pay that money. So Parliament has already come up with that thing of 1.7 million. And then other institutions are also beginning to absorb service allowance. I joked with one of the members of Parliament that now if you people are asking for service allowance, which means even us who are political researchers and political analysts on social media, we're also going to ask for service awards. Let me the case. I think the thing of corruption is broad. And like Council here spoke that we have institutions that have been handling corruption and they are constitutionally mandated to do so. Betty Kamia has been trying to do so. Then we have the Brigadier General Isoke also, who has been so fundamental in trying to recover most of these monies. Me, I'm very happy that there are people who have been appointed, and I'm also grateful to the X-App, that one, for exposing, like you say, collective efforts. We have to take up the responsibility as the citizens to expose these things. When we come to the social media, when we come here on the platforms, we are given these things for us to speak the truth.
Thank you, Mr. Tim.
Concerning us.
Mr. Tim,
I want to take a little distance from this as well. I want your comments, your thoughts on what transpired at the anti-corruption court yesterday. This incident itself, you as a lawyer, isn't this an attack on the judicial system, on the judiciary, another arm of government? Is it an attack on the judiciary by another arm of government, which is the executive, where we see plainclothes men holding pistols, firearms, coming to rearrest the member of parliament in that manner? Or you're still fine with it?
First of all, as we close this chapter of the corruption,
we haven't, because even that should be the lead.
Okay. Well, there is a Deputy Secretary General of the UN called Amina Mohammed, one day he made a statement she made a statement about corruption and said we must empower the youth to be the agents of change, for they hold the future, for they hold the key for the future. What does it mean? That in the fight against corruption in this country, and now that the youth is the biggest percentage, almost 75%, the youth, they must be empowered to be agents of change in this whole syndicated, systematic corruption that the country is facing, for them to condone and also be the whistleblowers in this. Because even the law protects the whistleblowers. It was made in 2010, the Whistleblowers Act of 2010. So what do I want to deliver home is that I want to tell everybody who is watching that corruption fighting calls for collective responsibility and efforts for us to be the agents of change in this fight. Now, what happened yesterday at the SCD, Anti-Corruption Division, here in opposite Ministry of Health, I got a chance, I was there, and I interacted with the Honorable Asman Lassan, who was
one of the councils
one of the lawyers on the bench for this bail application. First of all, I want to condone the errant officials of the security agencies. Condemn, yes. I beg your pardon. Condemn the errant officials of security agencies that behaved in an acceptable,
unethical way,
unethical and weird manner yesterday when they were arresting Honorable Akama Pope.
Did you also use the same energy to condemn what happened in the past? Because this was the first time.
I am saying I'm condemning it because it is violation of human rights.
And I'm also asking, because as for us who always watched, it's not the first time it is happening. It has happened on a number of locations. So have you also been condemning it, or now you're condemning it now? Because
no, we have always been condemning such and actually educating Ugandans about their constitutional rights for fighting for fundamental freedoms and rights. You see, the framers of our constitution, the 1995 constitution, has a whole chapter, actually chapter 4, talks about the fundamental human rights and freedoms. It talks about it. But we have seen some people who have gone ahead to violate the same. But this is what I have to tell Ugandans. One,
before I tell Ugandans, maybe these people are acting on the orders of the president, because, like you mentioned earlier, the president of Uganda has always had a problem with this so-called bail. Why would you bail people like that? Bail. Who knows? Maybe they're acting on orders of.
But you see, even if you are acting on the orders of who, I don't think those police officers were acting on the orders of the president. Under the hierarchy, it's not there. Under the hierarchy. Even if you are to bring, yes, even if you bring him here, the one who was arresting Honorable Kamba and the group, you bring him here and say, where did you get the directives and instructions?
He will
not tell you that the president.
He will never
Can I give some information about that?
Under the hierarchy, my brother, the president cannot do that.
Can I give some information about that?
Has the TP opposed to bail? Has it? He's on record.
Yes, but he was guided. He was guided by the Chief Justice of this country.
Doesn't seem to.
Can I give some?
You see, bail is a constitutional.
He has maintained his position, and I can tell you,
bail is a constitutional right.
He recorded it. That has a problem with bail. He was like, why should we be focusing on granting people bail and not, focusing on gathering evidence?
No, you see, you only stated that in disagreement with possibly the ones that were involved in the terrorism activities.
No,
and then also the corruption.
Actually, the president's message was all about speedy trial. Was all about speedy trial.
Can I give some info about that incident? Because you are condemning the police officers. With my eyes.
And they are not police. Let's be categorical.
Just a minute.
Agencies.
Because of plain clothes.
Just a minute.
From what you said today.
With my eyes.
Can also be CID.
I happen to have seen one of them is a bodyguard. Yes, of General Weiso. One of them. I happen to have seen another one I know personally is an SFC guy in plain clothes. But so now, can we say it was police? It wasn't.
Anyway, what we are saying.
If where you see SFC in that regard, definitely there's a link.
But you see, that one there we don't know.
Yes, no, I can give evidence. I have evidence.
I am not here to identify.
I have evidence.
I am not here to identify who belongs to which
but for me, I have evidence.
But we are saying generally, those security agencies and those people who were arresting yesterday.
Imagine this was your client, lawyer.
Member of parliament.
This was your client. You have just fought for them to get bail, and the judge has granted them bail, only to be picked up like that.
Yes, I have condemned the manner in which those people were carrying their arrest. Because you see, even if you are...
Was the arrest okay, but the manner is bad?
No, what I'm saying, even if that member of parliament had another charge or another case to answer, first of all, two things. That member of parliament in the first summoning was not arrested to be brought to CID headquarters. A member of parliament was summoned in a procedural manner, that is by informing the speaker, and a member of parliament submitted to the CID headquarters for a statement recording about what happened or what they were alleging against them in the Uganda Human Rights Commission 20% increment budget. Now, they submitted by themselves and their lawyers went to CID headquarters. Okay? So, they were detained in the police cells and brought to court, remanded. Now, yesterday, they came back to court. One was granted bail, much as it is a constitutional right, but the discretion remains,
the judge.
Yes, remains with the magistrate. So, court granted them bail on the conditions that he fulfilled actually them. A cash bail, presentation of sureties, and upon satisfying all the grounds of bail as court deemed necessary. Now, somebody at around 5 p.m. walks out of the SCD compound, that is Anti-Corruption Division, and goes outside, finds these people with actually his supporters jubilating on his side and plain closed security personnel arrested him in a manner that, one, I am condemning, two, I am saying that his human rights and fundamental rights were violated. But this is what I have to tell, because I know Akambi is a lawyer. I know him, at least he's a lawyer. He knows how his human rights were violated by those people. I actually want to tell Ugandans that whoever is arrested in that manner and where the fundamental human rights are being violated, take those people to court or courts of law.
Are they identifiable?
Absolutely. You see, there is a law that was made in 2019.
These are people cannot trace and find. I'm pretty sure.
He has said.
No. Matter may have said.
At least I know.
Do you know their names?
My brother.
Do you know their names?
First recognition.
Let me tell you.
It's part of investigation.
Edirisa, let me tell you. Those people did it in broad daylight. The videos were, captured them. They are all on social media and they can be identified.
And where could you get can you trace them and find them?
Absolutely, why not? They think they are errant officials in this government that work for security agencies who come, who are saboteurs and actually want to
First of all,
the government.
Although he said that one of them is bodyguard to senior presidential advisor, Afana Weiso, she's going to come out bold and deny that I don't know that man.
Which is okay.
That'll be the end.
But
where are you going to get it?
But you see.
But now she will say he was not an official capacity there.
No, what I'm saying, these people must be individually liable for what they did.
Yes.
There is a law that was passed in 2019, the Human Rights Enforcement Act. You are a journalist. Journalists have always been, their rights have always been violated.
And we are used to that.
No, they have.
No, we are used to that.
You mean there are no journalists? You mean there are no journalists that have taken these individuals at an
a number of them have succeeded.
Individual liability. They have been compensated a lot of money.
I doubt.
Like this police officer, the old Kampala police officer, how much did he compensate? How much did he compensate that journalist?
Friends who are still...
At CPS, I think. He's now sitting at CPS.
No, but you see...
And this victim right now is...
The man is left.
Chair.
Yes.
He's in a wheelchair.
You see...
There's no compensation.
You see, it's only that maybe we only stop at seeing the incident.
No.
And we don't follow.
The journalist I'm talking about is a close relative of mine.
I know him. Matter to court?
Yes.
Is it under...
do you want to follow it up? Do you want to follow it up?
No. What remedies that...
That's a waste of time.
I think you're just arguing for the case of hardware.
But let's accept. Let's accept that there are people who have been compensated.
What I'm saying, that when somebody violates your human rights, fundamental
that
human
is rhetoric.
One, Uganda is a functioning state where there is rule of law. Okay? When someone violates your rights, just do as the law prescribes and take on that very person individually to courts of law. And actually, Article 50 in our 1995 Constitution also speaks about it. Clause 1 and 2. That when you have fundamental rights are being...
You talk about a country where you still have people who say that there are people who are missing. They are close relatives.
And there's a selective application of the law.
You're talking of Human Rights Council.
There's a selective application of the law. You are aware. You are a lawyer. You are being taught. You know that.
That their relatives have gone missing for a long period of time. And all the state can come out and says to deny. So when we talk about human...
but you see, the State Minister for Internal Affairs, General David Muhoza Rubakuba, came on the floor of Parliament and elaborated on that.
What did he say?
I mean, you're a journalist.
Did he deny that people are missing?
Yeah,
they confessed that they picked up some of these persons.
Yes.
But they cannot produce them. They don't know where they are.
But you see, what I am against is violating human rights in this country. And whoever participates in such must face
is an enemy of government.
Absolutely. Yes. Because you see, there are errant officials and saboteurs in this government that work for these security agencies.
Yes.
They arrest somebody in a manner that is really unpleasant and not even recommendable under the law. Why would you really violate someone's human rights? And you think
you are seeing in the regime of Kale Kaihura what was happening? How people were being arrested and repatriated even without the...
And Council, let me also point out this. You see, the good things that I don't just want to make allegations. At least every point I point out to you, I back it up with a fact, either a statement from the president. Now you talk about, you just mentioned journalists here, how we ought to fight for our rights. I want to remind you that Ewan Akena, a journalist attached to Associated Press, a foreign media house, one time during the riots of where people were banning for the release of Chablon Center, a man with his camera and a jacket, he kneels down and raises his things. UPDF officers, 3 of them with big sticks, they pounce on him and start beating him. Everybody who saw that video just shed tears. The President of the Republic of Uganda came out and made a statement that these people thought that this was a camera thief. Imagine. That was so remorseless from the President. You see a human being being hit like that in the head. You can tell he's a journalist with his cameras. Even something identifying him.
His jacket.
But that's what he said, that they thought he was a camera thief. A former IGP just recently said that journalists are beaten for their own good. The journalists talk about formerly working with the WBS, right now still confined in a wheelchair after being assaulted by a police officer. He's still working and the other one has not been.
He was even promoted.
So there is gross violation of human rights in this country.
I want to sympathize with all Ugandans whose rights have been violated. Let me go on record again. I want to sympathize with fellow Ugandans whose human rights have been violated by security agencies, and they have acted unconstitutional. Because you see, the framers of our constitution brought up an article 221 that constitutionally mandates those security agencies to observe human rights while they are executing their duties. And whoever has acted contrary to that must face the law. Must face the law. You see, because first of all, when they violate people's human rights, one, international bodies keep watching here and they say Uganda is a center of human rights violation.
That explains the sanctions. In fact, that raised it. We are very grateful. I want also to point this out to you. We are very grateful that the foreign community is intervening. One, to press sanctions on corrupt officers. But also because it looks like here the administration of this country has failed at that. Two, the human rights violators, at least the foreign community comes in and then punishes them. They also have Karikala as a speaker has sanctions on his head, you know that? Kandiho has sanctions on his head. It's the foreign committee which is doing that.
Also
but the state
is
quiet
to add information
as human rights violation goes on.
To add information, Uganda Human Rights Commission has also been banned from most of these conferences, human rights conferences, by the international community. Are you aware about that? They cannot attend
because it is working for the state.
One is because possibly there is that picture that it's not really playing a role that it should be playing.
No, I wanted to respond to my brother's submission, where he says that the country has failed, and that's why the international bodies and international countries are coming in. This country has not failed. I am saying the few individuals who are errant officials in carrying out their duties and saboteurs are the ones to be identified for them to face the law individually. That is one. Two, I want also to tell you that Uganda is a sovereign and a republic. Okay? We have our court system which are still working and they are executing their duties constitutionally and following the law. On 9th October 1962, the flag that was called the Union Jack, you witnessed it being, brought down, and our Ugandan flag was raised. That was a sign of saying that we are now independent, okay, and we can stand as a country and execute our duties as mandated and constitutionally.
But council, without the independence of a son, who is dependent on the father, for everything, the son goes to the father. Everything goes to the father. Even the one that the independence of
my brother.
That's why
no. Is it disputable that this country is not independent?
That's why we are here.
Yes, absolutely.
And you have the freedom.
No, that's why we are here to debate. Because now,
they need submission in 1 minute.
They need
I can stand 1 minute. Then if it's 1 minute, you give it to him.
Please.
And now you can complete your submission.
So, what I'm saying is that whoever is there and watching us and whose human rights and fundamental freedoms have been violated by some individuals in this country, we are saying this is unacceptable in this country, and whoever does it must be identified to face the law.
What in use a minute?
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, BTM family, for this very show. We always come here to update people and then share and also build the capacity to develop our communities. I'm also very grateful to my brother. Even if we're here arguing, at least we share common ideas. But then this goes to the public.
Yes.
We as the citizens have the capacity and the mandate to always create awareness, and that is the number one rule that citizens have. We have the capacity through using the same platforms that we're on, media, to try and expose some of these vices that try to tear down whatever that we're building. Building an economy is not something that comes in handy, it's a process. it's a gradual process.
Thank you, team Lady Akona Pesa. Thank you, Councillor Nisima. Thank you, Mr. Matovu Moses, for spending time to be with us on this edition of the Dialogue. Thank you, dear viewers out there. Thank you for watching the Dialogue. We've come to the end of this edition. May the good Lord continue protecting you. From me and the team, wish you nothing but the best of the weekend. See you next week, inshallah.
Asante sana.